Hello, YouTube and Whooper Club fans. It's me, Fruit Taco here, coach of the Route 1 Burbs, welcoming you to WCL Season 14. Feature match for Week 1, we've got the Cincinnati Incineroar going up against the Summit County Psyducks. Now, this season, we're taking a break from singles. It's a doubles season, 6v6 doubles to be exact, with Terra Preview and Item Clause. Going to be shaking things up a bit from past seasons. This match, I think, is pretty interesting as the first feature match because it's the Incineroar going up against the Psyducks. Most of the coaches in the leagues are pretty restricted in their experience to single battling, but both of these coaches actually compete in VGC, so they've definitely got their skill set more in the doubles battles than other coaches in the league. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how both coaches come out of the gate for this season. And without further ado, let's start into breaking down the matchup. Going over the drafts of both teams, the Incineroar at the top of their speed tier, they have Superior, followed by Typhlosion, Iron Crown, Indeedee Female, Komodo, Illumise, Corviknight, Empoleon, Ursaluna Blood Moon, Glastrier, and Hatterene. Going up against the Psyducks, who have Chien-Pao, Whimsicott, Garchomp, Entei, Zapdos, Jirachi, Okidogi, Blastoise, Orthworm, Farigiraf, and Azumarill. Looking at the speeds here, both sides actually have access to Prankster Tailwind from the Illumise and the Whimsicott respectively, but the Psyducks still have the advantage here in speed with the two fastest Mons in the matchup and 6 Mons, over half the roster, tying the Incineroar's second fastest Mon. Trick Room options for the Incineroar, though, could be pretty strong for them, as they do have those very slow Hatterene and Glastrier, able to definitely underspeed things and therefore go first in Trick Room. Taking a closer look at the Incineroar's matchup, there aren't any great types to exploit on the other team, but there are several relatively poorly resisted types, things like Normal and Fairy that they could potentially aim for from stuff like Hatterene and that Ursaluna. They're probably going to be relying on power here to break and then just clean with strong spread, even into resisting types. Stuff like Expanding Force in their Psychic Terrain, Eruption from Typhlosion, just strong attackers who are just going to be able to wear things down and eventually clean up. Iron Crown, Hatterene, Ursaluna, and Typhlosion, for that reason, I think could all have a big part to play in this match, especially with a lot of support from that Indeedee. Looking at the Psyducks matchup, man, there's a glaring fire weakness on the side of the Incineroar, as well as poor answers to dark types, which could let Entei and Chien-Pao hit very hard. A lot of pressure on Farigiraf and Jirachi, though, I think, as Trick Room removers and Psychic resists could be a little bit of a breaking point. They have, mostly strong single target attack, so the question is, can they use that type matchup effectively enough to break through the Incineroar before they just get chipped down by things like repeated Expanding Forces? Overall, for the match, I think while the Psyducks have the better offensive matchup, I'm not sure they're going to be able to weather the powerful spread damage of the Incineroar team. They need to get ahead of the Incineroar's plan and stay ahead to win the match, I think. Overall, I'd give the advantage to the Incineroar just because I think they'll be able to push the tempo ahead of the Psyducks' plans, and I think the opening couple of turns are really going to set the tone for this match. Well, with that out of the way, let's see how both of these coaches actually prepared for the match. Breaking down the 6 Mons that the Incineroar are bringing, first up we have that Indeedee Female, a max defense and HP bulky set holding that Rocky Helmet there to punish physical attackers like the Chien-Pao. We've got a supportive moveset with Trick Room, Follow Me, and Helping Hand on top of Psychic Surge, letting it support pretty much every step of the game plan here. Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam offers a way to resist Dark-type attacks as well as put out pretty reliable damage against the Psyducks, even with an uninvested Gleam. This set really should put in a lot of work. I think this is going to be a strong part of the Incineroar's game plan here, and expect it to do a lot of work behind the scenes, helping everyone else out. In a similar role, we've got Illumise coming up next, also max defense HP, with the Covert Cloak to protect it from pretty much Blastoise's Fake Out, although maybe some Jirachi shenanigans as well. Terra Poison is going to let it resist the Okie Dokie stabs, as well as, I think, more importantly, stuff like Azumaro's Play Rough. Tailwind, Sunny Day, and Helping Hand offer additional support with that Prankster priority boost as well. Then you've got Struggle Bug as a fun option for chip damage while dropping both opponents' special attack. I think this set is a bit more of a niche design than the Indeedee. Covert Cloak doesn't do a ton, but is perfectly reasonable, and Sunny Day pairs well with the next Pokemon, but compared to Indeedee, this mon's support just isn't as overall useful. However, I think that it actually slots very well into the overall team plan here, and I think it'll do very well, just not going to be as much of a standout, I think, as that Indeedee. Speaking of that sun, next Pokemon is Typhlosion. Max speed and special attack Timid with Charcoal, Terrafire, and Flash Fire, all potentially boosting those fire-type moves like Eruption and Heat Wave. Solar Beam as well to hit things like the Azumarill, and all of those are going to be taking advantage of Illumise's Sun, with Protect letting it wait until the field is set for it to go to town. I think this set is great here, paired with that Illumise as a dedicated lead or perhaps cleaner. Only criticism I have here is maybe the speed investment, with at best speed tying several opposing mons. I think there is an argument to be made here to go for like a modest nature for a little extra damage, but winning a speed tie if Tailwind is up on both sides could be huge, so I don't necessarily fault the choice here, just another thing to consider. On the other end of the speed spectrum, though, we have Hatterene, max HP and special attack with a speed-lowering nature. Magic Bounce is going to offer a situational utility, and Life Orb is bringing the pain under Trick Room. Terrafire offers another fire resist and ice resist, while resisting steel as well, coming into the fairy type. Running Trick Room itself with Protect and then dual stab spread options in Expanding Force and Dazzling Gleam. This set is an absolute monster. Only needing the dual stabs here, letting it run Trick Room and Protect fit, that's just an amazing set, being useful in so many situations, being able to stall out things with Protect, set up its own Trick Room, just come out into Trick Room that's already up and absolutely fire off huge moves. Fantastic set here. Probably doesn't need the extra power here from a Stab Terra type, so I think the niche defensive properties of the Fire type, interesting to talk about Terrafire as a defensive option, are pretty interesting and not unwarranted. Similarly, another massive spread attacker, we have Iron Crown, max speed Timid with 172 EVs in special attack and the rest in HP. That specific investment is going to let that booster energy raise speed, and then you have Terra Psychic and Calm Mind making Expanding Force absolutely devastating in Psychic terrain. Protect and Tachyon Cutter round out the set, and I think this is really, really strong. You have that Tachyon Cutter to hit the Chien-Pao, which would be immune to Expanding Force. Calm Mind, with a Calm Mind and the booster energy speed boost, this thing is going to be absolutely taking names in Psychic terrain. So, I think really good job on this set here. And last up, we have Komodo. 164 EVs in speed with a timid nature is going to let it outspeed the entire Psyducks roster at +1. Then you've got 236 EVs in special attack, 104 in HP, and 4 in special defense. The extra bulk is going to help it live a couple attacks, especially paired with the Terrafire, again, resisting things like ice and fairy moves that would be going into that slot. While it really won't miss the special attack investment with getting +2 special attack off of Throat Spray and a Clangorous Soul. Clanging Scales is going to do huge spread damage with Aura Sphere and Flash Cannon rounding everything out, and this is just another great, terrifying spread attacking set. Overall, I love this team. It seems super reliable and synergistic with four absolute beasts of spread attackers. Well, the game plan might be simple. The Psyducks have their work cut out for them trying to hold out against just 2 or 3 of these attackers, let alone all 4. And I think that's really the game plan, is just make good use of those support pieces in the Indeedee and the Illumise, and then the other 4 are just going to fire off attack after attack until the other team is gone. So overall, great work here, great doubles-oriented team, excited to see what it can do. Looking now at what the Psyducks are bringing, we're going to be starting it off with Chien Pao. Max attack adamant with 208 speed to outspeed the Incineroar's whole team. The rest of those EVs going into special defense to take the variety of special attackers, and then there's protective pads on there to protect against things like Rocky Helmet. Terra Dark is going to boost the power of Crunch and Sucker Punch, with Ice Spinner there to remove Psychic Terrain, very fun, and protect to round out the set. I think this is a pretty solid set here, with Dual Stab going quite far, and I think it's just a question of, is it going to be able to get off the right attacks into the right slots? I really like Ice Spinner here as a way to remove the Psychic Terrain from the other team. Overall, just great set. Moving on to Entei, 240 speed EVs with a Timid Nature is going to let it outspeed Iron Crown. Then we've got 184 EVs in attack, and then almost all the rest in special defense, which is going to go even farther with the Assault Vest it's holding. Flare Blitz is the stab of choice with Terra Normal Extreme Speed, Stomping Tantrum, and Crunch for coverage. Quite a nice set here, but I think there are a couple choices up to debate. Flare Blitz is stronger than Sacred Fire, but I don't know if you have the room to take the extra chip damage in this matchup going against such a spread-focused team. I'd have to carefully look at the calcs to find out, but I think Sacred Fire, there is an argument to be made for it over Flare Blitz, but just the raw power, also reasonable. Terra Normal E-Speed, I think, is also quite powerful, but against the Psychic Terrain team, I don't know, I might have gone with something like a Terra Steel to resist all of the spread attacks coming your way, but again, if you're confident that you can get rid of the terrain, which they actually have a couple ways on this team, then that E-Speed can go quite far, so not a bad choice, just another thing that I'm wondering exactly how they came to that specific decision over other options. Overall, though, quite a great set, and hopefully it puts in work with all that specific defensive investment. I don't know exactly what that's for, but with the Assault Vest, it should do pretty well into the opposing team. Next up is for Rigorath. Max HP investment with investment in both defenses and special attack, as well as a speed-lowering nature and a citrus berry for more bulk. Trick Room and Imprison are great counterplay to opposing Trick Room, with its own expanding force to make use of the terrain, and then Terra Fairy, Terra Blast. I really like this set as a Trick Room counter, but I don't know if the Terra Fairy, Terra Blast is really necessary when it pretty much only hits Komodo, or if a defensive Terra with something like Hyper Voice could have been pretty much just as good or better, but Komodo is very scary, so I don't think having a pocket fairy type in the Terra there is necessarily a bad thing. Pretty interested in the specific defensive investment there, probably very carefully calced out. Don't know exactly what it's for, but just generally bulky here. Excited to see what it can do, and again, Imprison, being able to block Trick Room before the negative priority move goes off, fantastic option. Whimsicott is next, almost max speed and special attack with 36 EVs going into HP and a timid nature letting it outspeed the entire opposing team. Terra Steel is nice to resist attacks, especially combined with a special defense boost from Misty Seed and its Prankster Misty Terrain. Prankster Tailwind and Taunt are also great with Moonblast as an attacking move. I absolutely love this set. Awesome counter terrain play here, paired with good support, makes this a really, really useful set. Man, Prankster Misty Terrain with the Misty Seed, god, that is just such cool tech. Moving on to Earthworm, we've got max HP near max defense with a little special defense and 0 speed IVs, but not a speed lowering nature for some pretty specific underspeeding, it looks like. Leftovers for healing combined with Terra Fire again for some useful resistances, I think, coming from stuff like that Typhlosion's Eruption. Protect, Iron Defense, Heavy Slam, and Body Press make a bulky offensive moveset, and I don't know, I think this is the first set here that I don't really like. I see what it's getting at, though. Heavy Slam and Body Press are going to let it smack Hatterene and Ursaluna respectively, but I just don't know how much work it can do in the face of the almost entirely special attacking Incineroar team. I think something else could have gone over Iron Defense, something like maybe Metal Burst or Helping Hand, but we'll see how it does. But I think this is probably mostly an Ursaluna counter. And rounding out the team, we have Garchomp. Max attack, near max speed, Jolly, let it outspeed everything but Timid Superior, with Life Orb for more damage and Terra Fire to resist fairy attacks as well as ice attacks. Stomping Tantrum is good stab, with Rock Slide as coverage of choice, and Swords Dance and Protect to round out the set. I'm also not in love with this Garchomp set. Rock Slide is nice for flinches, but not particularly useful coverage here outside of that, and I don't think you have the time to get a Swords Dance off against the Incineroar. It's another fine set, but one I still see being somewhat limited in the actual matchup just once the battle gets going. Overall, I'll admit I'm not entirely sold on this team. I like several of the mons, but I just don't see some of these sets paying off. This team is going to need to thoroughly disrupt the Incineroar's plans to have a shot, because this team needs room to put out the kind of pressure they need to with the strong single target attacks and trying to get stuff like the Garchomp Swords Dance off. Will they be able to pull that off, though? I don't know. If they can, they're certainly going to be in a good position, so we'll just have to see how it all plays out, which, well, let's go do that. And here we are in the match proper. Looking at both teams here in team preview, no Ursaluna means that Orthworm is not looking particularly useful. I expect the Incineroar are going to lead with Typhlosion plus Illumise, or maybe Indeedee and Iron Crown, both pairs being able to put out a lot of immediate pressure with their spread moves. The Psyducks might lead Qianpao and Whimsicott if they expect the Psychic Terrain, or maybe Entei and Garchomp if they're expecting the Typhlosion. Well, let's see how this battle plays out. Turn 1, we are going to see the Sun pair out for the Incineroar, that Illumise and Typhlosion, up against Garchomp and Farigiraf, maybe worrying about immediate Trick Room. We're going to see Protect from the Typhlosion come out, and Sunny Day as the Protect eats both attacks from the Psyducks. Very good for the Incineroar. Now Tailwind comes out, Eruption comes out, does huge damage to both. Citrus Berry, and then Rock Slide coming out, missing the Typhlosion, and you're going to see after the Terra Blast, that Rock Slide would have KO'd the Typhlosion there, so that means that the Psyducks, because of that 10% miss chance, they're going to have to eat another turn of Typhlosion here, which is pretty rough for them starting out here. Turn 2, we're going to see Entei come in, Helping Hand, and then Protect from the Garchomp. Eruption coming out again, going to do decent damage to Entei because of a critical hit. More luck here for the side of the Incineroar. Interesting here going for the Eruption. Heat Wave would have been a little bit more powerful. Could have missed, sure, but Heat Wave would have guaranteed the KO on the Garchomp there, whereas I believe the Helping Hand Eruption was a roll. Still, though, the critical hit there on the Entei, chipping down the fire resist there very well, meaning this Typhlosion really being a problem here for the Psyducks. Turn 4, switch into the Indeedee for the Psychic Surge, which is going to block the Extreme Speed as Heat Wave comes out, resisted by both, and here Rock Slide finally hits the Typhlosion and will take it out as Garchomp almost goes down to Life Orb. Hatterene out now, though, as Orthworm comes out. Follow Me, I'm gonna not redirect anything because of Rock Slide, but Rock Slide will miss the Indeedee this time, as Hatterene goes up for the Trick Room, as Garchomp is going to take itself out to Life Orb damage. Farigiraf now coming in. Another unfortunate turn there for the Psyducks, not getting the extra chip there on the Indeedee, and I think this is just excellent play here by the Incineroar. The excellent use of the Indeedee coming in, blocking that terrain, the Follow Me protecting the Hatterene as it sets up its own Trick Room. That's the versatility of having Trick Room on both of these mons here. Now, the slowest members of the Psyducks team are out, but they're just not as slow as stuff like that Hatterene, so we're going to see what the Hatterene is going to do now that the Typhlosion has ended its reign of terror. Turn 6 Helping Hand, Expanding Force is going to absolutely destroy the Farigiraf, while the Orthworm is going to protect itself, maybe expecting a Mystical Fire. Whimsicott out here into the Trick Room, Helping Hand, but the Misty Terrain tech coming out here, even with the special defense boost from the Misty Seed, you're going to see it do absolutely huge damage to the Whimsicott, barely living there. Slight low roll there on the damage for the Incineroar, but a little better than a 50-50 of the Whimsicott surviving there, so finally a little luck for the Psyducks. Heavy Slam here is going to end the Hatterene, though, and Cobalion, Iron Crown, Iron Cobalion here is going to come out and get that speed boost from the Quark Drive. However, it is interesting that we have the fast Whimsicott and the fast Iron Crown here with 2 more turns of Trick Room. Whimsicott switching out into Entei as Body Press does about a third. Dazzling Gleam going to get some chip from the Indeedee, and then there's the Calm Mind boost from the Cobalion, not particularly threatened by either Mon out there at the time. So excellent job by the Incineroar finding this opportunity to set the Cobalion up here with now just 1 more turn of Trick Room to survive before it can go to town. Indeedee going to switch back out to Illumise as Protect is going to let that Cobalion easily take both attacks from the Orthworm and Entei, and now Trick Room is gone, but we're switching back into the Indeedee for more Psychic Terrain for the Iron Crown. Fantastic job there, pivoting between the Illumise and the Indeedee, as we see back out to Illumise now, predicting probably the use of the Misty Terrain there again, or just wanting your own Tailwind out there in case the Indeedee goes for Tailwind. And we're just seeing it, excellent support of this Iron Crown as it's just going to town with Expanding Force. Chien Pao now out with the Orthworm, the last 2. Protect going to come out from both the Iron Crown and the Cobalion, as Iron Crown and the Chien Pao, as the Tailwind is going to come out, giving it that safe turn for the to get the Tailwind up, as well as then switch into the Indeedee, this time to block the priority Sucker Punch. Body Press not going to do too much as Tachyon Cutter takes out the Chien Pao, and then it's over at this point, folks, just waiting for the Protect on the Orthworm to wear out before Helping Hand, Expanding Force, easily picking up the KO there for a clean win for the Incineroar. And this is why I think the Incineroar are definitely in the running to win it all this season. An awesome draft combined with just fantastic doubles play here. The Psyducks did not play poorly, but the Incineroar just seemed to have their number for a lot of this, just being 1 step ahead with their Protects and amazing use of terrain and switching between those support pieces of Indeedee and Illumise. Managing the terrain fantastically, blocking the priority when they needed to, getting Tailwind when they wanted it, and just excellently played by the Incineroar. Psyducks definitely got unlucky in the beginning of that match. Rough start for them, and as I kind of said, I think the start of this match was going to set the tempo, because with that spread offense from the Incineroar just coming out strong from the start, if you fall behind early, it's just going to be hard to find the room to pick yourself back up in the face of all that continuous damage. Still, well played by them, though. Well played by the Incineroar, and, well, I think this is just an excellent way to start this fun doubles season, with just great double play on display here. So with that, I think that'll be it for me. Thanks for watching. I hope you are excited for the rest of this season like I am. Very interested to see what other kinds of cool doubles shenanigans we can see coaches get up to. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.